Hello and welcome to IAMC TV Radio. Today, December 26th, we'll explore the top news headlines. Our first stop takes us to Niger, where we have a developing story with potential international implications. General Abdourahmane Tiani, the head of state, is making some serious accusations against France, alleging they are not only supporting terrorist groups like Boko Haram, but are actively working to destabilize the entire region.
Yeah, what's particularly noteworthy here is the specificity of Tiani's claims. He alleges that France is providing weapons and funding to a group called Lakurawa, and even implicates a former Nigerian intelligence chief, Ahmed Rufai Abubakar, as being involved. He also points to a specific location, a forest called Gaba in Sokoto State, Nigeria, where he claims France is planning to establish a terrorist base.
Right, these are bold accusations, and it will be crucial to see how France and Nigeria respond, and if any evidence surfaces to support these claims. Now, shifting gears to a story closer to home, we turn our attention to Nigeria and a case of alleged corruption within its own government. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, also known as the EFCC, has arrested Mrs. Joy Enwa, the Accountant General of Delta State. This arrest is part of a larger investigation into former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, who's accused of diverting a massive sum of 1.3 trillion naira in state funds.
This case raises serious concerns about accountability and the effectiveness of anti-corruption measures in Delta State. This is actually the second time Mrs. Enwa has been implicated in financial impropriety. She was previously investigated for a separate fraud case back in 2015. The fact that she was later appointed Accountant General despite those past allegations is troubling and suggests potential systemic issues.
And it's not just financial corruption that's making headlines in Delta State. We also have a report of military presence causing fear in the community of Okbara Olomu. The military reportedly entered the town searching for community leaders, including the President General Okia Mute Otoka, who claims their presence is meant to disrupt a community conference and is connected to illegal land sales.
This incident brings to light the potential for conflict between the military and civilian populations, particularly when land disputes and accusations of corruption are involved. It's crucial to monitor the situation closely and see if the military's actions are deemed justified and within their legal mandate.
Now for an update on the ongoing insurgency in northern Nigeria, where we're seeing a new development in the complex dynamics between Boko Haram and ISWAP, two rival terrorist groups. Reports indicate that Boko Haram has launched a series of attacks on ISWAP camps, resulting in the deaths of numerous fighters and the seizure of their equipment.
This is a significant development because it suggests a possible power shift in the region. For a while, ISWAP has been considered the dominant force, but these recent attacks by Boko Haram could indicate a resurgence in their strength and influence. This potential shift could have major implications for the security situation in the area and the effectiveness of counterterrorism efforts.
Switching gears now to a story with global implications. We have news of a cyber attack that has disrupted the operations of Japan Airlines. The airline was targeted by a DDoS attack, which stands for Distributed Denial of Service, essentially overwhelming their system with data requests and causing delays for over 20 domestic flights.
While Japan Airlines has stated that no customer data was compromised and flight safety was not affected, this incident serves as a stark reminder of the increasing vulnerability of critical infrastructure to cyber threats in our digital age. This highlights the importance of robust cybersecurity measures across all sectors, not just in the airline industry, but in any organization that relies on digital systems.
Back in Nigeria, a court has delivered a significant blow to drug trafficking operations, sentencing 4 individuals, including a Jamaican national, to a combined 28 years in prison for trafficking cocaine.
What's remarkable about this case is the sheer scale of the drug bust. It involved the seizure of 2.1 tons of cocaine, the largest in Nigeria's history. This success demonstrates the ongoing efforts and commitment of Nigerian authorities to combat drug trafficking and disrupt the financial infrastructure of these criminal organizations.
Turning our attention to international news, we have a story from Taiwan, where Ko Wen-jae, a former presidential candidate and mayor of Taipei, is facing serious charges of bribery and embezzlement. The charges stem from a shopping center redevelopment project and allegations of misuse of political donations. Prosecutors are seeking a substantial prison sentence of 28.5 years.
This case underscores the persistent concerns about corruption in Taiwanese politics and the continued efforts to hold high-profile individuals accountable. The fact that a former presidential candidate is facing such serious charges highlights the importance of transparency and ethical conduct in public office and the need to maintain public trust in government institutions.
And finally, we have a controversial Christmas message from former U.S. President Donald Trump, directed at 37 federal death row inmates whose sentences were commuted to life in prison by President Joe Biden.
Instead of offering holiday greetings, Trump's message to these inmates was, "Go to hell." He also criticized Biden's decision and vowed to reinstate the death penalty more forcefully if he returns to office. This event underscores the deep political divides in the U.S., particularly when it comes to criminal justice issues, and highlights the enduring influence of Trump's presidency on a segment of the American population.
It's certainly a story that has sparked strong reactions and will likely continue to be a topic of debate and discussion for some time to come.
It also demonstrates the stark contrast in approaches to criminal justice reform between Biden and Trump, and how their actions reflect their differing political ideologies and the expectations of their respective bases.
This story definitely brings up some interesting questions about the role of presidential power and the ongoing debate surrounding the death penalty. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from international accusations and alleged corruption to cyber threats and political divides.
If we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, it's clear that these seemingly disparate events are all interconnected in a complex web of global affairs, whether it's political tensions or security threats, economic challenges, or technological vulnerabilities. The news today underscores the forces shaping our world and the importance of staying informed and engaged.
Absolutely. Looking back at everything we've discussed, what stood out to you the most from today's headlines?
I think the story about the Niger Junta leader's accusations against France is particularly concerning. It has the potential to further destabilize the Sahel region, which is already grappling with multiple security challenges, including the threat of terrorism. These allegations also raise broader questions about the role of international actors in the region, and the potential for misinformation and propaganda to be used as tools of political leverage.
I agree that situation has the potential to escalate quickly and could have far-reaching consequences. I was also struck by the case of the Delta State Accountant General. It's a stark reminder of the pervasiveness of corruption in some parts of the world, and the challenges in holding individuals accountable even when there's a clear history of wrongdoing.
It also highlights the need for stronger institutions and mechanisms to prevent and detect corruption, and ensure that public funds are used responsibly and ethically for the benefit of the people they're intended to serve.
The cyber attack on Japan Airlines really hit home for me as well. It serves as a wake-up call about the increasing threat of cybercrime in our increasingly digital world, and the need for robust cybersecurity measures across all sectors.
Absolutely, and it's not just about protecting data and systems, but also about ensuring the continuity of operations and minimizing disruption. Cyberattacks can have cascading effects, impacting not only the targeted organization, but also its customers, partners, and even entire sectors of the economy.
You know, it seems like every day there's a new story about a data breach or a ransomware attack. It's a constant reminder that we all need to be vigilant and take steps to protect ourselves online.
You're right, and it's not just individuals who need to be proactive. Businesses and governments also need to work together to develop and implement effective cybersecurity strategies and share information to stay ahead of the evolving threat landscape.
It's a complex and ever-changing challenge, but one that we absolutely cannot afford to ignore. On that note, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
Before we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listeners with something to consider in today's world, where we're bombarded with information from all sides. It's more important than ever to be discerning consumers of news. We need to critically evaluate sources, consider potential biases, and be wary of agendas.
That's such an important point. It's so easy to get caught up in the sensationalism or the echo chambers.
Yeah.
But taking a step back to think critically about the information we're consuming is absolutely essential. It allows us to form our own informed opinions and engage in constructive dialogue, rather than simply reacting to the latest headlines.
Exactly. It's about being active participants in the information landscape, rather than passive recipients.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your insights on these important stories.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of you listening, thank you for tuning in to today's top news headlines on IAMC TV Radio. It's about recognizing that news is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, and that we need to engage in thoughtful discussions and seek out diverse perspectives to truly understand the complexities of the world around us.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up our exploration of today's top news headlines.
It's been a pleasure discussing these important events with you.
And thank you to all of our listeners for joining us today. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay curious. This has been today's top news headlines on IAMC TV Radio.